Hey everyone, welcome back. So, summer is here. I'm not a huge fan of summer, but I do like fans. Sorry, last pun. Promise. I found this fan in a local craft shop and I figured that decorating it is a fitting way to say hi to summer. The first thing I did was paint the bones because I wanted them darker. For this, I removed the plastic pin thingy that holds them together, and you'll see how I replaced it later with one that I made from a wire. The reason I bothered with this is so that I'll be able to paint all of the bones. If I left the pin on, I will definitely have places that the brush wouldn't reach, and it would drive me crazy afterwards. I also wanted to add a ring so I can hang some ribbons and embellishments from, so it really made sense in this case. But you can completely skip that part. You'll see that I reassembled the fan before decorating the fabric part, so you can leave the bones as they are and just get straight away in decorating. If you do want to paint the bones, it's better to do it first because you're bound to get some paint stains on the fabric, and this way you can cover them up when you do the decorating later. I painted the bones from both sides. I was going for this grungy look, so I used 2 shades of brown and brushed them together pretty randomly, really. It was at this point that I realized that the brown wasn't as dark as I like, so I brought a darker shade of brown and painted the sides of the fan and then brushed some on the already painted bones. I purposely didn't clean the brush before bringing the darker brown, so I got some strokes from the lighter shades mixed through. When I finished painting the bones, I put the fan aside to dry and made the pin. I used a 2mm craft wire. It's very pliable and comes in a range of colors, so you can really pick and choose what you like. After straightening the wire, I made a ring on one end and cut enough wire to add a ring on the other side too. Hammering the wire helps strengthening the shape, so if the design allows, I always do it. I use a silicone hammer so it wouldn't leave any marks on the wire. Then I gathered the fan bones and put the wire in. I made sure that everything moves smoothly and then made another ring on the other side to finish the pin. Unfortunately, I brought it too close to me and apparently did it completely off camera. Sorry about that. But it's really exactly like I did on the first side. Anyways, the fan is now ready for decoration. For the decoration, I used Tim Holtz Collage papers. These are thin papers that become basically invisible when glued down. So the texture of the fabric comes through, making it look like the pattern is printed on the fabric itself. For this side, I used the Typeset collage paper. It's a gorgeous one with lots of layers of numbers and text, so it really fits with this kind of grungy look. I cut the pieces that I wanted using a water brush. The water softens the paper fibers on the line that you draw, so you can easily tear the paper exactly where you want to. You can use scissors, but torn edges blend better and give the background a more coherent look. Before gluing the paper down, I flattened the fan as much as I can on the desk, so that the folds open fully. I have a non-stick mat on my surface. It's just way easier to clean glue from this than from the glass. As you can see, I used a lot of glue. I put a generous amount of the area that I want to glue on, and then on top of the collage paper as well. This makes the paper sort of sink into the fabric and the white part basically disappears. You can also take off any excess very easily, so I find it easier to just put a lot of glue and then remove what I need to remove afterwards. I used Collage Medium. You can use other glues like Mod Podge or Decoupage glue, but These two, the collage paper and collage medium, were designed to work together, and I think that you can really feel it when you work with them. It's easier to do and you get better results. After brushing the glue on, I also rub the paper in with my fingers. It's not really necessary, but I feel that it helps getting the translucent effect and make sure that there aren't any air bubbles. You do need to be a bit careful because too much pressure can tear the paper. But if there's enough glue, it usually goes very smoothly, and after you do it a couple of times, you'll get the feel for the amount of pressure that you need. I repeated the same process with the Typeset collage paper till I covered this side of the fan. Then I let it dry for half an hour or so before moving to the other side. I thought it would be cool to have the pattern on the other side in color, so I used the plain collage paper and some stamps to create a design. I knew that I'm going to add paint and water on top in the next stage, so I used Ranger Archival's inks. These are permanent oil-based inks, and they will not react to water and will not move once they're dry, so they're very useful in this kind of project. I wanted to keep the randomness of the design on this side as well, so I cut out a big chunk of the paper, stamped all over it, and then cut it and glued it down exactly like I did in the first side. You can see how the pattern from the first side shows through the colorful pattern on this side, so they basically combine into one piece with a lot of layering. I left the fan to dry completely, and then it was time to add more color. Because a fan is something that is handled a lot, and I definitely mean to use it, I wanted something permanent and opted for acrylic paints. And because I wanted to make them thin and, partly translucent layers, I chose distress paints. They're designed to work with water, and you can get similar result to working with inks, only that they're permanent when they're dry, so I won't have to worry about getting, my hand stained on a particularly humid day. As you can see, after getting my palette ready, I started with elegantly dropping my fan right into the paints. Oh well, no need to panic, just spray everything with water and create some lovely grungy layers. I worked with a lot of water because I wanted the colored layers to be thin, so the patterns can really come through. If you use enough water, distress color acts kind of like watercolor when it's wet, and you can get these really beautiful washes and layering effects. Because this is a pretty messy technique, I worked on both sides simultaneously, dropping some paint with a brush, adding water to create droplets, and then moving the fan to, move the paint. I dried the first layer and added some splatters. I placed the paper over the bone area to protect it as much as possible. For this fan, I used a warm palette of yellow, orange, brown, with a touch of patina for interest. I listed the exact colors that I used in the description. If you're interested, you can check that out. I felt that the second side I made with the stamped images lacked some contrast, so I added some darker brown and patina. When I was happy with the color balance, I dried it all well and added some stamping. I used foam stamps because a fan is definitely not a flat surface, and I wanted the words to be clear. So the pack has this piece of clear plastic inside that is really useful for stamping on uneven surfaces. You can place the letters as you like it and even check it out, see how it looks before you stamp, just by flipping it over. And when you stamp with it, because it's thin plastic, you can really press the stamps down and be sure to get the ink really into all the crevices. I also added some flourishes for framing. With these, I wanted a more grungy feel, so I wasn't worried about getting a perfect image. I just stamped it wherever I wanted it. I inked the edges of the fan to frame it, and done! Well, the fan is done. Now it was time to add some decorations. I chose some elements from Tim Holtz's Idea-ology line, this little bird, a watch hand, and this cute little bell. They all have a little ring on top, so it was very easy to add the jump ring so I can hang them easily. I put a large jump ring on 2 sari silk ribbons and used one end to tie a simple knot, adding a bit of glue to secure it in place. To hang the embellishment, I passed the ribbon through the ring that I added on the little trinkets, added a bit of glue, and then wrapped a thin wire on the glued down area. This hides any stains that the glue might create and adds a lot of interest. You can see that I wrap it pretty haphazardly. You can definitely do it more accurately, but for this kind of style, I felt that this is more fitting. After wrapping, I gave it a good little squeeze, just to be sure that it's all secure in place. Then I tied a ribbon from 2 of the silk pieces and added the decoration to the fan. At this point, I decided that it would be cute to have the little bell in the middle of the bow, so I added it there, and that's it, done. I really like how the fan came out. It only took a few hours and I got this unique fan all ready for summer. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I have some more tutorials on the way and some other content too, and I hope you'll join me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.